Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to webinar week number 3 and day number 1. Absolutely delighted today to be joined by our special guest, Mr. Willie McNab, and obviously Mark Wilson, who's here to co-pilot things with me. I'm Tom Shields. I'll be leading most of the questions. Mark will jump in and out when he can add little chunks of insight and push and probe Willie for a little bit more explanation on certain things. But really grateful for you all to be here, and of course, Willie, for sharing your time with us today. Willie, for the benefit of people who, surprisingly, you might be less familiar to, could you provide a little bit of a background, obviously, into what you do at Celtic, some of your experiences, and frankly, why we're so lucky to have you on the line with us today?
Yeah. First of all, thanks, Tom, Mark, for extending an invitation. I know we're having a chat just before the conversation there, but I think what you guys are doing, putting these free webinars on, different class from both of you in these sort of times, so I thank you very much for doing that as well. And yeah, in terms of myself, it's really strange. I was speaking about it earlier on today. I've now been coaching for 20 years. I'm 36 years old, so I got into coaching when I was kind of very young, at the time when I was playing. I'd left high school, went straight into kind of playing football back home, and was playing with a team called Albion Rovers. Some of the guys on here may heard of them. They're a third division team in Scotland, and kind of quickly realised that I wasn't going to make a huge living out of playing the game. So that's when kind of it was funny. I used to tell myself my brain couldn't tell my feet what to do to actually do it in a game all that well, but I could explain it to at that time it was young players that I was working with, kind of 6 and 7 year olds at the club that I was playing for as well. So kind of quickly made it wasn't a hobby to begin with. That I really seen it as a career path. It was what I wanted to do, and kind of went from there. Really stopped playing around when I was about 21, 22, kind of professionally. When played kind of semi-pro for a little bit, but kind of always wanted to be the coaching side of it. So I was working for the Scottish FA, going into schools, doing a little soccer tots at 3 years old, and then working with the guys back at the club. And then fortunately left Albion Rovers and had the chance to go to another professional club in Scotland called Hibs. Spent about 6-7 months there. Had the chance to then jump across Edinburgh to the rivals Hearts, where I spent a season. Then I had the great honour of at that point in time, it was a man called Tommy Burns, former player and manager of Celtic, invited them in with a man called Martin Miller, who I'll speak about later on actually. And invite him into the club. So that was 14 years ago. Initially working with the U11s, and kind of just worked my way through the age groups at Celtic, working with the development centres at U7s, but taking the teams at U11s, and fortunate enough to work up to the U17s, and actually been involved in some of the sessions with the reserve squads as well. Took a couple of sessions, which again, we can speak about later on, was an unbelievable experience for me, one that was actually thrust upon me within hours, so I didn't have time to think about it. And then from there, most recently I had the role of International Soccer Academy Manager, so that's how I've managed to travel to the US quite a bit recently, managing our partnerships out in North America. And then just at the end of the year, moved into my role as the head of the children's programme. So basically, the role that I'm in just now full time is looking after the U13s, all the way down to development centres at the club.
Yeah, it's perfect, mate, and thank you for that. I think to those that are listening, every time we have somebody like Willie who can share his insight, it just resonates so deeply with some of the messages that have been shared with you this week on that depth of experience and the breadth of learning and the breadth of opportunities that people have obviously tried to follow to get to where he is today. So as you can see, if Willie is new to you, we're really fortunate to be able to tap into his experience and his insight, and this should be a fascinating conversation. We are going to talk about primarily the importance of maximizing what they call a window of opportunity of development or learning, which is right around the key age groups that Willie works with. So some tips and ideas for coaches on what becomes really important in that age group, and how you can maximize the potential that's there. But first, Willie, I gave you a little bit of foresight. Some of the guests have been a little less fortunate, but I'm going to ask you for your all-time all-star five-a-side team of coaches, but specifically your coaches are people that have worked with these younger children, this early foundation phase, introductory age. If you can, give me a characteristic about them that made them stand out to you, and what was so special.
Yeah, I mean, probably about 4 out of these 5 people on this list I've worked with. One I haven't. One was just I was fortunate enough to see him deliver many times, and that guy was Tosh Farrell. Tosh, who was at Everton at the time. I actually had heard about him at my previous role with the Scottish FA, and he came up and done a lot of stuff, and obviously he'd worked with guys like Wayne Rooney and that at the time. But the first thing that just struck me was his sheer enthusiasm for working with players. I managed to speak to him at the conventions over the years, and I watched him deliver a couple of times as well, and he was just really infectious. He could kind of light up a room with what he was doing, and I think that's so key to working with young players. And he was quite snappy with some of the things that he said as well, and just kind of captured the attention of the young players. So although I've not had the chance to work with Tosh, he's certainly one that even just in a short period of time, he kind of made a bit of an impact on me of what he delivered. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I agree. I had the fortune of watching him firsthand a couple of times when he was out in the States, and it helped that he was on their height length a few times. He wasn't looking.
I hope he's not injured.
No, I agree. Tosh is brilliant. That's a fantastic first name. So that's number 1. Carry on.
Yeah. So number 2 for me is the guy that I kind of replaced at Celtic, a guy called Martin Miller. Martin was at Celtic for about 25 years. Played an instrumental role in a lot of the players who'd come through at Celtic at the time. So guys like Kieran Tierney and Aidan McGeady and Cam McGregor, James Forrest, these types of guys, Charlie Mulgrew, all down the years. And you'll notice that when even now they speak about who was an influential coach, they always mention Martin's name. And huge shoes to fill in terms of what Martin created at Celtic. And he was a brilliant guy for creating a culture at a club, and passionately believed in what he did. He would kind of have the kids eating out the palm of his hands, even the parents as well. So and quite a humble guy, but really he would think about others as well. Did a lot for charity. So in terms of kind of creating a culture, I think Martin Miller was one of the top guys out there as well. And maybe some of the guys listening to that have had the privilege of hearing Martin deliver on the field in the classroom. So top guy.
Perfect. Number 3.
Number 3 for me is a guy called Jimmy Lindsay, who gave me my first crack at coaching when I was at Albion Rovers. He coached me when I was 16 years old. I learned so much from him. But then when I was getting into coaching, I watched him take sessions with the younger ones. And at that point in time, there was a lot of study being done on Ajax. So he'd been over there, seen a lot of their stuff, and introduced a lot of kind of technical training to these young players, even using small skill balls and tennis balls and things like that as well. So even though that 20 odd years ago, he still has a big impact on me as a coach, what I do today. And when I watch him with those younger players, how he can still demand really high tempo and real quality within what he does, but delivered in a kind of fun manner as well. So Jimmy would be number 3 in there for me. Number 4, this is a guy I've actually not seen for a long time, but again, some of the guys in the call may know him. I worked at North Lanarkshire Council, which was part of the Scottish FA at the time. It was a guy called Stuart Aitchison. He was an older chap, and he just loved working with the mini kickers age group. So you're talking that 3 to 6 years old, and I nicknamed him the Wizard because he literally sat and spoke to these kids, and they were just in a trance of what this guy had to say. And even myself, I was standing watching this guy and said, "By the way, I want to be part of your sessions." He was using balloons and music and animals, and again, you won't mind me saying this, he was a little bit older at that point in time as well. He must have been in his 50s, and the enthusiasm that he had. So just for working with young players, Stuart Aitchison, the Wizard, as I like to call him. And number 5, he's a really good friend of mine, a guy called Stevie Clark. Stevie's currently a performance coach with the Scottish FA, previously with Hamilton Accies as well. Top coach. I used to work with Stevie when we first started out, and I just loved his preparation and his manner that he had with the kids as well. And it's something that you can still see with him working today. I mean, he's working at a top level with the Scottish FA, working with the top talent in our country, and get a huge career ahead of him as well. So I think Stevie would be the number 5 in there. So certainly it was tough to actually write this down, to think about the people that have made an impact from you as a coach, but actually how they've impacted players. So that's the all-star 5 there for me.
That's it sounds like a heck of a five, and Chris popped up in the chat to say that Stuart Aitchison's a legend and he's still going as strong, so
Oh, brilliant. Top guy. Top guy.
It's nice for you. So yeah, look, that's brilliant, and I think a lot of what you've referenced there is going to be some questions that I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into as we go through this. Certainly, you know, some of the characteristics that you alluded to, and quite why they're able to have the impact that they did. So first of all, just to kind of preface with the audience, if you could kind of dive into a little bit about why it's so important to get it right here on their in their introduction to football, but specifically, you know, if you could reference where they are from a cognitive development, like what's happening to them, how are they able to now take on a little bit more information, obviously moving away from being so egocentric and it's just me and my ball, into the other layers of topics and concepts that you can cover. So just kind of take away, you know, why these guys are prime learners.
Yeah, and listen, there'll be some guys again in here who've been maybe fortunate to come to Celtic in particular and see what we do, the Children's Academy. And it's just the sheer fun and enthusiasm. These young kids, they're here to play football because they love playing the game. So for me, it's about setting that environment of that fun. That's at the basis of everything that we should do. And it's funny you mentioned there, we have kids as maybe young as maybe 6 years old in the development centre, and they are very much about me and my ball. It's about me, it's about dribbling and running with it, and that's absolutely fine, because that's how they're going to learn some of the fundamentals of the game. And it's the first thing that gets people out of their chair when they watch people playing, is someone who can go and take someone on. And particularly at Celtic, we are dedicated on that. Our top players, from Jimmy Johnson all the way down to young Karamoko Dembele, it's in the team just now. It's people who want to excite you and get you out of your seat, and we encourage that at a young age. But then, as you mentioned, it's slowly but surely putting those layers in of understanding rules, understanding sharing. And I look at the kids as kids, not exactly as players, because they're just here, they're enjoying their football. It's their first maybe taste of proper structured. And sorry, I'll maybe digress on a lot of stuff here, Tom. I'll become a bit like Billy Courtney. I'll end up telling a story and come back to it at some point. But when you look at it, there's a lot of structure in youth soccer or youth football just now, and it's just the way the world has evolved at the moment. And something that we've tried in the last 3 months is particularly the first 20 minutes when the kids arrive. So we start practice at 6 o'clock. We've got some kids who arrive at 5, like an hour before training. And we're fortunate, we've got our own training facility. But when the kids go down, they're there maybe roughly on the field 30 minutes beforehand. So we've decided to just go old school street football and take away structure. There's absolutely no structure in the first 30 minutes. And we actually, as part of our newsletter, we actually put on the newsletter to the parents, we're going to do street football. So when you come down, it's going to be chaos. There's going to be laughing. There's going to be people rolling about on the floor. They'll be carrying on. It's all okay. We've got it in hand. We want this to happen, because as soon as you step out the car at the top car park at Barrowfield, you should be hit with a wall of kids having fun and just total noise. And when you go down, it's amazing. Some of the games that we play, we call it cuppy doubles, where you get a goalkeeper and goals and 2 players out, and you've got 40 players playing this massive game of football, and it's all about dribbling and running with the ball and maybe playing little 1-2s with your teammate. And then all of a sudden, one of the kids pulls out the trash can, the wheelie bin at the side, opens it up, tries to chip the ball in the bin. One kid takes a safety barrier from the side of the pitch and starts playing head tennis. Now, as his coach, we had the exact same reaction as you, Tom and Marcus. We started laughing. And we said, this is what we want to try and create this unstructured play. The kind of mantra I've kind of got at Celtic just now is playground to paradise. So their playground is a pitch, and paradise always says Celtic Park. That's the nickname for Celtic Park, is that we want the kids to go from their playground to paradise. But remember, when they get to paradise, it's still their playground. That's why they got there. And just create this environment where, and listen, it's quite easy for me to say this, and people probably thinking, yeah, it's easy just to come on and talk about that, but genuine, and there's some guys in this chat who have been down, that's what we do. We just create that environment because the kids want to learn within that, and they are like sponges. You mentioned that in your email. They just want to learn. They want to absorb so much knowledge, and some of the coaches that we have at Celtic are excellent. They're very good technical coaches, but sometimes it's just about understanding the kid as well. So when they come in, ask them how was school, what did you do at school, what did you watch on TV last night, and just kind of get that little bit of kind of connection with them as well, because ultimately we want them to choose Celtic as their destination. It's the best place, and the parents understand that as well. That's the best place for them to come in. So I think working with kids, and particularly the junior academy, if you want to call that U12s and down, it's the most rewarding section of it. And sometimes it gets lost a little bit when they become 14, 15, 16. They're still kids. Don't get me wrong, although 16, 17 years old, they could be in the first team, but they're still learning and they still need to keep that love for the game. So if I ask you, Tom and Mark, why did you play? I love football. So they need to keep that essence, and it's how we set that an environment as a coach. And when you think about it, it sounds so simple, but I think it gets lost sometimes. I walk my dog up the local park, and there's a couple of little teams who play, and I always stand and watch it. And I watched this coach with all the poles out and the footballs and the pennies and the bibs and stuff. I'm like, this looks fantastic. So it was like maybe under U9, U10s team. And then he started the session and they started running up and down the hill on the side of the pitch. And I'm like, what are you doing? Get the ball out and just let them play and let them experience it, because it looked fantastic. The kids came down, they were engaged in it all. So I think that for me is and making sure that it's everything that you're doing is age and stage specific to those young players. And I said this in a little kind of webinar I did on Friday night, Tom, was like, don't go online and pick off Jose Mourinho's or Jurgen Klopp's session and do it with your U9s. It's not going to work. You need to put your personality into that kind of session for them.
There's something I want to jump on there.
Yeah.
That I love what you've just said there, Willie, and it's about building confidence through fun, self-belief through fun in young players. And you talked about double cuppies. So I remember at lunchtime as a kid, everybody would race out to the field, put the bags down as goals, and then somebody would go and goal, kick the ball 40 yards away, and 15 kids would run after it. And normally the quickest got there first, but you turn round and you faced up the other 14 and you weren't scared. You were like, here we go. How do I
yeah, exactly.
And now I looked at a session online yesterday. Somebody was saying, here's my preparation for the upcoming year. This is one of the curriculum sessions, and it was a 1v2. And the question above it was, when do I know, or when can I recognize there's a 1v1 to go and attack the space behind? Well, why do you have to recognize it's a 1v2? There was 2 defenders and 1 attacker. Why not just go and attack the 2 players and see what happens? You're back to structure again. You're framing all of these things, when to be a great attacking player, you need freedom. You need to be able to think dynamically and on the move. There can be structure around you with outside runs, inside inverted runs, and strikers posting up. But when you set off with the ball, you need that freedom of thought to be creative and innovative. And too much structure removes that. So I love the concept of what you're building and what you've had built at Celtic for a long time now. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It was almost like a wee kind of jump into the unknown to begin with, that you take that structure out. And I think as coaches, we want to do the best by the kids. We want to create the best environment. We're prepared in our session, and what we want to do, it's got the flow to it. And see, when you don't have that structure, it's a little bit scary as well. So the first couple of weeks we went down, you're like, as a coach, he's like one of the U9s. It was so funny, Mark. One of the kids runs by, and the little kid just literally clips his heels. He falls over and jumps on top of him. And the 2 of them were laughing their heads off. And as a coach, you're like, oh no, don't trip him up. And then I thought, no, just step back. And they helped each other up, and they were laughing. And then the kids know when we come into the kind of start the session, you've got that framework of what you want to do. Then the focus kind of comes back again. And actually, I was speaking to one of the parents, and one of the kids said to him, Dad, can you get there early for training tonight? He's like, why? He's like, I want to go and play cuppy doubles. I want to go down and just play with my mates. So it's something we do practice, and it's something that I've just noticed. And what you do find is that, especially the younger ones, they'll just gravitate and they'll play the same game all the time. And so what we've started to do is devise kind of street cards. Like, the kids can come and we say, right, rather than you all doing the one thing, so they can maybe come and pick a card off us, and they go and play cuppy doubles, and the one goes and plays crossbar challenge, and the other one plays crossy in, and then they start to come up with their own games and their own ideas. Like the little kid, he was a striker, so he was, again, used the wheelie bin, and was hitting the ball off the wheelie bin, and when it came back to him, he was taking his back foot and dribbling through. So that was something that he did himself, and then a defender joined him in as and it was going back to your old kind of street games type thing. So in a kind of roundabout way, Tom, I think that's kind of really important. I think the kids are just at that stage, they want to learn, they want to create that environment, and for us it's about they come in. I don't know if it's obviously the same in the US. All the clubs are competing for the same players at the same time, so you have to create that environment that the parents understand it's the best place for their child, and their child really enjoys coming back and wanting to be involved in what we do. So and then you can put little initiatives around that. For me, competition is huge. Competition should be right throughout everything that you do, but particularly with the young ones. As soon as you say there's points available or you win a prize, the effort level goes absolutely through the roof. We do a player of the week thing, and it's based on the little FIFA cards. So we've made their own FIFA cards, and each one gets a player of the week from each squad. And at the end of the season, this player will get a life-size FIFA card. So these kids want a life-size FIFA card, but the only way they're going to get it is through their peers. So the coach doesn't vote for them; it's their peers. So we have values at the club as well. So we make that one of the criteria. So what player is showing values? So who's showing support, respect, commitment throughout everything that we've done? Who's maybe been the hardest working player at training? Who's helped other people? So we have a night where we bring the U9s right all the way to the U13s. They train together. So we maybe say, is there a U13 that's taken a U9 aside and helped him? So we'll make a note of that. And then after a game, and obviously how well they performed in games, and after a game we sit all the players down and we say, right, okay, you can either vote for your player of the week now in front of everyone, or they do a secret ballot where they text it in, and most of the kids kind of choose either or. We get a league table and then you put it out, and that goes in a newsletter every week, so everyone in the junior academy sees that, players and parents, and all of a sudden the players go, oh, I want to be in that newsletter. And then when they come back into the environment, there's competition, there's real competition within what we do. So I think there's loads of other stuff throughout that would maybe fit for you and at your own club, but certainly I've found that kind of with young players that becomes really, really important.
Yeah, I think, Willie, there's so many incredible ideas and insights there. It sounds, as you said, like a fascinating place to grow up and fascinating place to play. And Willow, it actually sounds a little bit like what you explained the Cliff used to be like as well, just on the top with games flying around and competition before practice, and two great clubs, you know, obviously Manchester United, Celtic, with the cultures that they've created. Coaches, just want to signpost something to you. Some of the ideas that Willie referenced, there's things called challenge cards, and they started in rugby. The Magic Academy came up with an idea, but if you want to Google that, it can give ideas for me and Mark sometimes talk about situational learning, and Willie, I'm going to ask you about how you guys use games to encourage some of the competencies you look to build. But for you guys, you know, Google challenge cards, maybe see if you can make them or purchase them for your own programs, because I think it's a really novel way of trying to entice the kids into being engaged. So pre-practice sounds fantastic. What happens once they get in? Can you talk to me about the types of games or training activities that you use throughout a session? What does a normal Celtic session look like, and why are you, A, why is it done that way, and B, what are you trying to emphasize with this age group?
Yeah, and I think the key thing for us is about building a technical base for these young players. How they receive the ball, they release the ball, dribbling, taking people on, maybe understanding situations like you mentioned there, Mark, about 1 versus 1s, 2 versus 1s, 1 versus 2, underloads, overloads. It's a little exercise that I'm kind of actually doing just now, that the importance of 1v1s and 2v1s in particular within the game. I was having this chat with Greg Robertson, the under-18s coach at Celtic, and how that should be a big basis of what you do with these young players, because it happens in the game all the time in different areas of the pitch, and all you just do is be situational, like you said, Tom. So if you've maybe got a young striker that you're working with, the 1 versus 1, the defender starts behind them, for example, or if it's a winger, they're maybe faced at the front, slightly at an angle, or if you're a midfield player, they're in front of you, so it can be situational to those players. We have a thing at Celtic called the Celtic turns, which Martin Miller put in place. We have, I think, around about 67 turns that we have are all named after players past and present at Celtic. and we do this for the first 15-20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes non-stop. So we counted it one day, I think it was almost 4,000 touches of the ball that they get within that 20-minute period. And I mean, it's rapid fire. That's your top end guys. Your younger kids are maybe getting less touches because they're learning these things. But again, because of the turns are new to the kids, we pair the under 13 up with the new kid, the new under 9, who teaches the turns within there. Different things like called Jack in the Box, which was named after a player called Jack Aitchison. It's a little 2x2 yard area, and they have to put as many turns together in a 30-second kind of short period of time. And then we bring them all together and we pick the 6 or 7 best performing players at the turns, and they have a final in front of everyone. So again, it's creating competition within what we're doing, but also giving the kids the confidence to do things in front of people as well, because ultimately, if you want to go from your playground to paradise, you're going to play in front of 60,000. So you have to be comfortable at doing it in front of your peers to begin with as well, and all the parents watching. We kind of structure our sessions in terms of the first part of it being a discovery phase. We're currently looking at the game model just now, about the kind of moments of the game. But if we particularly look at the kind of 8s, 9s, 10-year-olds, we want to build that technical base. So 1 versus 1s, 2 versus 1s, 2 versus 2s, receiving and releasing the ball is hugely important to us. Scanning within what they're doing as well. But trying to put that into a discovery phase, first of all, which we can, the coaches have got the choice in this. So if they've got a squad of 16 and you have 2 coaches, one coach can take 8 players and one coach can take the other. And we work for maybe 10, 12 minutes on that particular theme. So it may be 2 versus 1 in a certain area of the pitch. And then they swap over, they do their stuff, and then they come together as a group. And it goes into a more kind of full pressure practice. You're a game-like situation, or like a rondo, for example. Kids as young as kind of 6 years old are doing like 4v1 rondos, 4v2, and I was a little bit sceptical when I went down to see it because I wasn't too sure if it was unbelievable, because there was constant decisions that they had to make about their body shape, how they were taking it, and it was just about persevering with it. But then linking that back to how they can use that within the game. And then we take it into a kind of full game practice. So depending on what age and stage they're at, it may be 4v4, 7v7 or 9v9, our pathway here we've got in Scotland at the young kids. And then the last part of it, we do a thing called a core programme, which is their individual programme. So they spend 10 minutes on their own. So it's an exercise that they've designed themselves, and they practice within the session for 10 minutes. And again, the coach just facilitates that. Now these discussions take place with the coaches and the kids away from the training field. So it's something we're currently doing just now remotely, that we send them a core programme. The kid writes down what they want to work on, and this is even as young as 9 and 10 years old. Just starting to get them to understand what they're really good at the moment, and having that growth mindset to say, listen, can I take myself out of my comfort zone and practice something I'm not particularly good at the moment? So another initiative that we have is called White Band, which is, you see the kids all wear almost like a tuba grip around their weak foot, and that's for us to identify within a game, and we can praise that within a game as well. So we don't call it weak foot, we say brilliant white band, excellent, great white band cross, and then all of a sudden they practice that and they get to a certain level where we can celebrate that success and we can reward that player for working. So a lot of our players in the junior academy just now can take it and ping it with both feet. So when they come into our junior academy, and when they graduate to the big school, as we call it, they're very comfortable at both sides as well. So that's a constant thread throughout what we do as well. But the sessions, Tom, they grow with the players as well as the game model. I actually have a chat with our coaches on Friday to discuss it more. That I think how we work with the kids has to be age and stage specific, about if they're playing 4s or playing 7s, they're playing 9s. About building that technical base, and they can sign with us at U11s here in Scotland. So when they sign for us, they then become our player. So they leave their boys club, and maybe before that they're training with 2 or 3 other clubs. But when they come to us, then we can really start to get into a little bit more detail of it, about using the moments of the game, the different transitional moments within it, and really build out something. So if you're a U10s coach, Tom, you sit down with the U9s coach at the end of the season, and you can say, here's what we've done, bang, bang, bang. It's now on to you do this. And so when you leave us at U13s, I'm saying to the head of the intermediate academy, here is where these players are at the moment in time, in terms of the technical, tactical, physical, We speak about intelligence quite a lot as well as being part of it, and also from a welfare point of view. Here's where these players are sitting, and then I think that becomes a proper development path. So we talk about the players wearing a backpack, and every year they fill this backpack full of stuff, and every year they fill this backpack as they go along, and then when they graduate, we try to fill that backpack with as much stuff as possible. This sounds like a lot of stuff that I'm speaking about here, but we gradually drop this in with the kids. It's not as if we dump it all on them at the one time. The coaches are excellent at finding the right moments of when to do this, and slowly but surely we just add a lot of kind of player support programs as they kind of travel through the academy.
Yeah, there's, again, the depth of the answer is fantastic, and there's so much to unpack, but I love, it's going to blend into my next question, which obviously is how you challenge your coaches to actually coach at this age group. But before that, again, just to reference, because if it's gone beyond us, the Tubi grip concept, I assume that it's very intentional that you're not calling it weak foot, because we know the use of our language and emphasizing negatives, we don't want to have a connotation with a negative with the use of that body part. So I love that. The stuff about giving them an allocation of time to work on stuff. Coaches, you may go through what we call an individual development plan with your players, or if you give feedback to any of the players that you work with on an annual basis. Willie, I think that's a tremendous way of just allocating time so that they can very deliberately, purposefully go and have that time allocated to practice to do that. And again, the backpack to me just links to connection. So connecting with those kids, and the segue into the question, how do you encourage your coaches to coach? Your five-a-side team all referenced the ability to have kids eating out the palm of their hand, or to get on their wavelength. Can you give me a couple of clues as to how all this blends together with regards to how the coaches actually manage and deliver in their environment?
Yeah, two words for me: personality and enthusiasm. Just let that ooze out of what they do. I say to the coaches that you're here at Celtic for a reason, because you're very, very good, and just let your personality shine. We have a framework and a philosophy of how we want to work, but you need to put the Tom Shield stamp over everything that you do. And kids are absolutely buzzed off enthusiasm. I spoke about this on Friday night. The number one paid manager in the world right now is Diego Simeone, and you can probably see why. Mark, you've probably played under certain coaches as well. If you've seen that guy in training, you would just buzz off him. He's sweating more than the players, and even what he does at the side of the park. But I could imagine he's one that would probably put an arm around you at one point as well and tell you everything's okay and really go and help you. But he's so passionate, enthusiasm. For me, I see too many coaches who, when they go through courses, they end up becoming a robot of that course. I think courses are excellent, but I think they're better for making connections and learning off of other coaches within that. I really think that's a better learning environment. I sometimes think courses, when you go on, it's almost like your driving test. That's the analogy. Shows what you can do, and we'll give you your driving license, and you can go and drive how you want. But why don't we let the personality shine of the coach and the enthusiasm, and just kind of grab the attention of the kids very early on, and don't speak jargonese to the kids. Don't fire big words at them. If you as a coach cannot explain to the kids what that means, how are they supposed to understand it? So you as a coach need to understand and explain that to the kids. And we have a thing called a dictionary at Celtic, where we'll put words in that dictionary and we'll put an explanation, and they have a copy of that. So if any time we mention offensive transition, what does that mean? So they know exactly. So that we can actually say to the kids, so what do we mean by when we transition to attack? What does that mean? And they can give you a little snapshot of that as well. So I think as a coach, you want to impart as much knowledge as you can to the players, and we all want to help the players. But sometimes just take a step back. They're, as we call them in Scotland here, they're wains, they're kids. Create the environment for them, and just drip feed little things into them as you go along. And that, my preferred style is obviously the guided discovery of asking the questions and get real interaction with your players to get more out of them. Because even if you flip that and I worked with the U16s and 17s as well, that when you give them a little bit of a interaction and then they see it happen in a game, that's when you get buy-in from your players as well. And the same goes for the younger kids. There's nothing better than seeing something that they've worked on in training executed in a game. So we speak about develop now, win later. And it's not about winning in the scoreboard. It's about that win is doing something, what you've done in training. So the process becomes more important than the outcome. Now, when you get to the first team, it becomes more about winning. And winning for me shouldn't be a dirty word. Working with young players, I think the will to win or striving to win should be in everything that you do. So if you say to a young under-9s team, do you want to win today? Of course they're going to say yes. But as a coach, not to the detriment of the development of the player, should you win the game. Now, I think even when younger kids, they play in games and they win, it breeds confidence for them as well. But I had it when I was at Albion Rovers. We were a very small club. And we would play some of the bigger clubs and take an absolute doing in the scoreline. But we would say, think about what you've actually practiced in training. And you know what? 4 of those kids actually ended up going to Celtic. So it was unbelievable. In fact, one of them now actually lives across the road from me here in just outside of Glasgow. And he currently plays in the Premiership in Scotland. So it's amazing to kind of see that as well. So I think if you're saying to the coaches, avoid kind of jargon and connect with the kids, I think staying current is important as well. Even daft things like, what's the current thing that they're all listening to music-wise and just now, or TV programmes. Tom, Mark, you might get this one, Tom. You might be a little bit young for it. I had a chuckle today because one of the kids at training was he had like the black Under Armour and the black Under Armour bottoms. I said, you look like the man from Milk-Tray. And the wee guy looked at me and said, what's Milk-Tray? I'm like, no, you look like the man from Milk-Tray. It's like, I've never heard of that. So I'm like, my God, man, I'm feeling so old at the moment. Can you remember that, Tom? You're older than what I think. So daft things like that. So you kind of connect with them, you have a wee bit of banter with them as well, but you can even daft things like that you hear them talking about and just trying to stay current. We all try to stay current in the coaching sense of things, but even just staying current of what's kind of going on about with these young players and even the technology and stuff like that they're using as well, because you can always drop that little bit of humour. It's amazing because humour's slowly but surely getting dragged out of the game, in my opinion. And Mark and Tom, you probably yourself, Mark, even War, you'll testify to this. You've been in changing rooms. It's the best thing ever. The banter and stuff like that is all the stuff that you always remember. You obviously need to be careful with the young kids. You're not making fun of anyone. You're not singling anyone out. But still creating that fun environment where the kids are buzzing to come into the locker room and have that bit of chat with their teammates. So I think humour goes a long, long way, even if you're making fun of yourself as a coach, but not making fun of a player, obviously. But certainly enthusiasm and personality should be at the forefront for me.
Well, Willow, does that sound so? Again, it's always nice to segue into other environments. Obviously, it's a generation difference, but did that sound a lot when you're growing up at the Cliff at Carrington, around United? Yep. Those tendencies in coaches similar?
Absolutely. I think humour and personality were, despite the very stern faces you might associate with Eric Harrison, Jim Ryan, and the gaffer, Sir Alex Ferguson, there was a lot of humour in there, and that positive energy is infectious. It spreads very quickly, and it's not that you're not focused on the task in hand. I think that actually is a nice little segue and build into you focusing on the task in hand, because it relaxes you. It connects you with everybody in the environment. And the more you're connected, the more you collaborate, the more you have fun, the more you learn. And it does resonate. I think the environment Willie's talking about and that he's created with his staff and Playground to Paradise, I think it's a phenomenal concept, and two, I think it will not just, and Willie, there's 1% of the 1% that are going to go on and be first team regulars in Celtic first team, but it'll churn out just this wealth of kids who become adults, who become learners, who want to become coaches, who are invested in the game, and it just perpetuates. And that kind of leads me into a little bit of my next question, because the processes you currently have in place, I've no doubt you're churning out two-footed, technically gifted players who understand situational learning, when a technique becomes a skill, all of these attributes. So for me, and I have my own perspective on this, what then is put in place to separate the good from the great, and the great that get into the first team into being first team regulars? Is there a little piece of the puzzle that you have to work on to make that transition from your environment into the next step up and beyond, the duty of care almost to the player psychologically?
I think it's the golden question. You in terms of player development, it's almost like looking into a crystal ball at times, and you've probably seen a million players who, for me, today's kind of star isn't tomorrow's superstar. So you have to, I think what you have to do, if you have a player who's here and you have a player who's slightly underneath that, our thought as a coach is, let's help this player get up to there, which is important. But how can we take this player from there and take them to an even other level as well? And it's about, one's about opportunity. It's maybe the next coach that you get, or the first team manager, depending on what level you're at as well, and just getting that wee bit of luck sometimes in that opportunity. But best preparing those players, and I think a big part of it comes down to character, Mark, and what they do. Sometimes there's a wee blockage there because it takes a lot of character to play for Manchester United. You probably saw guys who were technically proficient, hard workers, but just crumbled when it came to match day, or couldn't deal with the pressure of being at a club like Manchester United. And it kind of comes to a club like Celtic as well, that we want to try and release the valve a wee bit, and just release that pressure of the environment that we are creating, also from the pressure that the coaches put the players under, and also the pressure that they maybe get from parents as well, and just try to release that pressure. But at the same time, we do a lot of kind of one-to-one work, even with sports psychologists as well, that if we maybe get some kids have got a kind of maybe a blockage that they find it hard to perform at a certain level, how can we sit down and delve into that a little bit more, and how we can support that player? Because we speak about technical, tactical, we can support that as coaches, but how physically can we support them as well, and how psychologically? You look at one of my best players, and you'll probably know him, Paul Scholes was one of my favourite players of all time. A guy was like a walking GPS. He just knew exactly where he was going, and you would look at him and say, he says it himself, this scrawny little ginger kid, and you would say, absolutely no chance is that lad going to be one of the best players in the world. But you have that bit of time and perseverance with him as well, because you hit the nail on the head. There's going to be that 1% of the 1% who are actually going to really go and make that. I'll use Kieran Tierney as an example. Kieran, known Kieran since he was 6 years old at Celtic, and coming through the ranks and working with him, brilliant kid, wonderful left foot, unbelievable work rate within what he did. Then he went through a wee period of where he struggled a wee touch. He was never in any of the Scottish national squads, sometimes struggled to get into the starting 11 with the Celtic squads as well. But we'd just be patient with him, because you understood that there was a very, very good player within there. He just needed that little bit of support. And all of a sudden, he gets called up to train with the first team, impresses, gets a substitute appearance in one of the games, and then he broke his leg, set him back a little bit. So had to do a little bit of work with him, just getting him mentally and physically ready to go and step back in again. So you always knew that he was on an upward trajectory. And the same happens just now with some of the young players that you work with, that if you know they were a very good player, they might go through a little stage, maybe maturation-wise. You speak about your training age, maturation age, and chronological age. So you have a kid who's actually 12 years old, but maturation-wise, he's like a 15-year-old, but he's got a training age of maybe 6 months at Celtic, for example. So you have to take all that into consideration as well, a lot of different variables. So physically, you've got a player who's running away from people at the moment, and we've got a couple of players who are physically very strong. So we need to develop you on the other side of it, because when you get to 15, 16, and you can't quite run away from anyone, how are you going to get away from someone? Do you have that? Can you release and receive the ball, or we just said, just run and we'll kick the ball to you, and we'll hopefully get something out of it? Where that for me is that's not development, that's just getting a result at the weekend. So you're doing a disservice to the other players within your squad. And sometimes you even need to look at it. I spent a couple of days down at Spurs a few years ago, and I remember visiting my mate down there, and it was at their old training ground, and there was this kid who he was an absolute pest. He came in like at 6 o'clock in the morning and trained all day and wouldn't go home, and he just wanted to work all the time. And I said, who's that kid there? And his name was Andros Townsend. He was like 16, 17 at the time. So when you see him now, what he did in playing for the first team and going playing for England, was you looked at it, they had these star players that they looked at. One of them, I think, was John Obika at the time. You had Dean Parrott was another one. I didn't know the kid, Dean Parrott, but I quickly seen that his attitude wasn't the right attitude. He wasn't working hard enough. And all of a sudden, you seen the one that maybe was slightly behind the other two, wasn't getting pushed as much at that time. He becomes tomorrow's superstar. So I think you just need to have that wee bit of patience within what you do as well. We're going to get it right, we're going to get it wrong as coaches. There are different variables away from the pitch as well, as maybe they just don't want the pressures of playing football anymore. Maybe they just want to play with their mates, and that's why we try to do the street football side of it, to keep that wee element in there. Some of them maybe don't have the mentality for it. Maybe they're more academic. Maybe they want to go down that route. They maybe have got a different set of friends. You'll know, Mark, you need to make sacrifices to be a top player as well, even at a very young age. And the parents also need to make sacrifices, but the parent needs to take, you need to manage expectations with everyone at that time. You can't be saying, oh, he's a superstar in the making and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, you see kids right away, you say, barring something catastrophic, he's got a wonderful career ahead of him. But you sometimes can say to parents, just back off, trust the club. We'll support you, we'll support the player as much as we possibly can and help maximise that potential. But the player needs to take responsibility for some of it as well, Mark. It can't always come from the players. My wife's a school teacher, and she tells me, even at parents' evenings, if a kid's failing in the class, they come in and blame the teacher. So a kid, if they're not working or not doing well at football, the kid will probably blame the coach, he'll blame his teammates, they don't pass to me, they'll blame their mum and dad, and we'll say, well, why don't you look in the mirror? Maybe why don't you look at yourself? I remember when I went to school, if I was getting a poor report card, I would quickly see the back of my mum's hand and be told to work harder when I went back into class. But everyone just they blame everyone else. So it's like taking that little bit of responsibility. And I must admit, the kids at Celtic are fantastic at doing that. That you learn to take responsibility early on. And daft things, this is how daft it is, Tom. Take responsibility at 9 years old for packing your own bag when you come to training in the game. Clean your own boots, put your boots in your bag, put your water bottle, put all your training kit. And the amount of times that I've seen kids come to games and say, well, I have forgot my boots. Why have you forgot my boots? Well, my mum and dad didn't put them in my bag. Your mum and dad doesn't play the game for you. So you pack your bag next time. So even daffy things like that about taking responsibility as well.
Yeah, no, it's magic, mate. And again, there's so much to unpack, and I want to try to ask. I just want to try to segue into another conversation. So me and Willow, the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of conversations with people about the psychosocial layer. And my question to you, obviously, you referenced earlier, we want players who are good 1v1s, 1v2s, 2v1s, 2v2s, good decision makers. Are you at all intentional about having, today's going to be a resilience day, right? So actually the football is secondary. The football is the tool through which we get to, hey, we're going to really stretch them today mentally. We're going to stress them out. We're going to put them under pressure, because as you said, you've got to create that layer of resilience. And then how often, obviously the very elite end that you're working at, how often do you complement that with, okay, we are going to have that early developing 12, 13-year-old who looks like a 15-year-old, and we know that, hey, he's going to train up 2 age groups, so we're going to bioband, we're going to look at what we can do. But we know that when they're going there, it's to see if they can struggle, right? It's to see if they can do that. So you're putting a deliberate roadblock in place, either in a team session or individually as they transition. How much attention do you pay to that side of it, knowing what players need to develop mentally to make the game?
We do it a couple of ways, Tom. One on the field and one kind of off the field. Daft things on the field could be things like you being the referee as a coach and giving absolutely horrendous decisions against that player every single time. Striker, tell him he's offside all the time. How does he then react to that referee? And you start to get in his head. And you can use that as a teachable moment. not only to that kid but to other players within the team. We also do off the pitch things, self-talk scripts that we use. Again, it was something that kind of Martin Miller had put in place, that little scenarios that we can put in with the players and say, okay, if this scenario happens, how do you deal with this? And you actually can see the kids sometimes actually have a quick conversation with themselves on the field, and they've maybe got mistake rituals that they deal with. So I don't know if you notice this, but if you watch Andy Murray play tennis, his mistake ritual is wiping his brow with his wristband. So we've got some kids that maybe do that, or maybe they pat the Celtic badge. So as soon as they maybe do something in the game, mistake ritual, bang, done. Control the controllables. There's nothing you can do about that. One Brendan Rodgers used to say was, can you see the opposition's crossbar? He said, because you would see players walk about with their head down and chest up, head up, see the opposition's crossbar. Daft things like that. So how you can support them. In terms of stretching them, you need to stretch them mentally as well as technically. I always say to players, you'll come off these sessions physically tired, but you'll be more mentally tired as well. So Dan Abrahams, who I believe is probably speaking to Gary Kernan just now, Dan's brilliant. He's excellent if you get a chance to get a chat one-to-one with him. And we were talking about randomisation within your practice. So us as coaches, we usually go A to B to C to D and finish the session. Sometimes within that, the players can start to get a little bit lazy because they maybe know the passing pattern and know certain things within it. So I've tried it a couple of times with the U16s. Don't get me wrong, I really had to think about it as a coach in terms of your layout and things. But I started maybe with your kind of unopposed passing exercise and then straight into a game. So did 4 minutes, straight into a game for 4 minutes, then took them out and done 4 minutes of a rondo, and then put them into 4 minutes of a phase of play, and then brought them back to the passing. So basically went A, C, B, D, A, D, C for the whole session. And I said to the kids at the end, how did you find that? And they said, my brain was absolutely fried. They said, I knew what I was doing, but it took me a little while to get used to it. And me as a coach, my senses were absolutely tingling as well to make sure that I had everything right, which was another way of kind of putting strain on them as well. And you're absolutely right. We're a firm believer of when you've got kids performing who can maybe deal with it tactically, technically, physically and mentally, we move them up a year group or a 2 years age group. Sometimes what we actually do at the younger age groups, our U8s will play a local club U9s, and our U9s will play a local club U10s or U11s. So we'll take some doings in the scorecard, but don't really care. It's about how they can maybe deal with adversity, because all of a sudden you're playing with a Celtic team who can't get the ball back as quick, or you can't run away from someone physically. How do you need to deal with that? And we've done the same with our U13s players going to U14s and really stretching them as much as possible. But they have to go up there and get game time. That's what we speak to all the coaches. There's no point in taking a kid away and have them sitting on a bench and maybe only playing for 20 minutes. It's throw him in at the start and see how he deals with that. All of a sudden he's in maybe a more demanding environment. Maybe the coach is a little bit more demanding. Certainly the players will be more demanding of them. The opposition are going to be a little bit more tuned in. They're older. They've maybe played the game a wee bit longer as well. So I think there's loads of ways you can stretch them in training and in games. But the daft one for me is the refereeing decisions. I love that. I love and say to them, next goal's a winner, and they score the goal and they cheer and you go, no, you were offside. And then all of a sudden it creates that bit of banter as well. But you say to them, well, what if that happens on a Saturday or a Sunday and the referee's really poor and gives a poor decision, and you lose focus of the game and you want to argue with the referee, and for the next 5 minutes you're absolutely no use to yourself or your teammates. So we've got a performance system where we look at them from the mental resilience point of view as well. They score themselves and we score them as well. And you need to try and get a kind of correlation between the points. So we've got 20 KPIs on technical, tactical, and 10 KPIs on kind of mental resilience as well. So we can look at them, the parents can look at them, and the players can look at them as well.
Willie, it's fascinating. I'm sat here and I could keep going all day. I'm very conscious that we're an hour of time, and it's so engaging. I want to just touch Tony Strudwick, who's a good friend of Mark's and ours, told us once that the game model that you just referenced there, when you've got control of it, his thing at Man United was 50% of games should be competitively balanced. Like you're in it either way. 25% you should be dominant and you can try new strategies and ideas. 25% you should really struggle, and it's that kind of stretching them to a point where they've got to adjust. So just some numbers to put onto what Willie's great suggestions were there. Willie, we started the conversation with people that inspired you, and a lot of what you said was all around capturing imagination and attention, and all I've done is listen and see little phrases and little drops of, you know, like you said, you know, fill in the backpack, just something really like playground to paradise. Like it's all clearly so intentional, and what I love is that a lot of the conversations these first few weeks have been around coaches trying to very deliberately and intentionally build their culture, build their brand, understand themselves, like who they want to be and why they want to be there. And I think this is an insight into somebody who's obviously working at the very top level of the professional side of the sport. This has been absolutely first class. So thank you so much for the insight that you've shared with us. I am going to say this, guys, if there's anything that is left, we could go all day, but if there's anything specific from anybody on the line that wants to pop up in the chat function and try and get a final question posed, please feel free, because again, I'm sat here like a kid in a candy shop, so I don't want to steal the limelight here.
Just on that, Tom, I've actually just stole what you said there about Tony Stridwick about the 50, 25 and 25. I've just written that down on my iPad there. So I think you're always learning this stuff. Tony Stridwick's a top guy. I actually love his little conversations with Raymond Verheyen at times. I like that. But Tony's a top guy as well, a guy I'd love to be able to chat with as well. But I think you're always learning as a coach, and you'll never get the answers as a coach. I'm just speaking about stuff here that's worked for me. And you're right about finding your own identity. I'm hoping to enrol. I wasn't an academic person when I left school at 16 and became a player. So I'm hopefully, I've just sent away my application to get into an MSc course at university in September, doing alongside the kind of job that I had, and it's all about performance coaching. So it's maybe coming away from the actual on-field stuff. It's how you deal with individuals, and just about where you want to maybe try and get as a coach, and how you can put that in place, because we can speak about a lot about how we support the players and where we want the players to go to. I think this is a time, if I could give one little bit of kind of information to the coaches on this call just now, use this time to look after yourself as well, because most of the time we look after others all the time, and we bear the weight of the world about our players and about the parents as well. But look after yourself, keep yourself healthy as well, and come on to things like this and ask for mentorship. We've all probably got mentors, but you'll not get a mentor if you don't ask, because someone's not going to come to you and say, do you want me to mentor you? You have to approach them, get someone, even if it's once a month, you can bounce ideas off of as well, and just be humble of kind of what you're doing. But use this time to look after yourself. That's a key bit of information I would give at this point in time.
Yeah, that's perfect, mate. Thank you ever so much. Appreciate the positive comments, guys, coming in. This has been one of my favorites for sure. Willie, if people want to find you, want to listen more, want to learn more, where can they go to get hold of you? Twitter handles, websites, what can people?
Yeah, just Twitter. That's the kind of only social media I use. It's at Willie McNab. The only thing you'll see me on there is talking about Celtic first team and my dog Chavo. I don't really speak about football very often on there, but quite happy engaging in certain things with regards to that as well. I don't like to kind of put too much stuff out there. I don't have any website stuff or anything, but I love coming on these sort of things and kind of just talking about the game and just being kind of frank and honest about it as well. But anyone wants to get me on there at Willie McNab, feel free to drop me a wee line on that as well.
Perfect. Well, Willie, thank you on behalf of everybody listening now and in the future, and obviously Team Beyond Pulse. Really always do appreciate your time and the support that you show to us. So thank you very much. And people on the line will look forward to seeing you guys again. We're going to shoot for pretty much the same time every day this week, so early afternoon Eastern. Hopefully you'll be able to join us. But yeah, thank you everybody, much appreciated.
Cheers guys, take care.